When I started working from home, I almost had this sense of guilt that I wasn't doing enough because I just wasn't on my feet being physically demanded to work.
I love bookkeeping.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Robinson.
And I'm Melissa Honan.
And you are listening to the I Love Bookkeeping podcast. Today, we're going to be covering something that I think can help anybody. And that is habits for remote workers. Especially in the last couple of years, a lot of us have become remote workers. And if you own your own business, then you already are a remote worker. But we're going to go through some tips today to help you get through your day, stay as organized as possible, and just manage your productivity. Melissa, first of all, how long have you been working remotely? I couldn't remember.
It is so from the beginning, 2016.
Okay.
So before it was cool.
Okay. That's what I was going to say. Before it was cool, I started working remotely in mid 2017 after I quit my last job. And oh my gosh, I wish I had this podcast to listen to or these tips, because I just remember when I started working from home, it was just, I went from having these 12-hour days on my feet to working from home. And it's a little bit shocking. There's a lot
it's a tough transition.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very isolating back then as well, because everybody else didn't work from home. And I would find myself in the middle of the day, okay, I need a break. All of my mom friends work everybody I know has a typical job, or, their child at the time, maybe that was their nap time, nothing ever lined up. And I felt by the end of the day, I didn't want to socialize because I had a long work day, but it was very awkward. It was really awkward. And I almost feel like I had a midlife crisis when I went first remote back in 2016. I struggled.
Yeah, I did too. I went from being in this position where I was working 12-hour days on my feet and just go all day. And when I started working from home and working remotely, I almost had this sense of guilt that I wasn't doing enough because I just wasn't on my feet and being physically demanded to work. And so it was tough for me to kind of find my routine. Also, I was in my early 20s, so the whole thing is tough when you're at that age. But yeah, I wish I had some tips on kind of how to navigate working remotely. What do you think? Because I know what my answer would be, but what do you think is the biggest standout tip for you for working remotely that you still carry with you from kind of the beginning?
That is a great question. And I definitely want to hear your answer. I will say that I'm going to have a lot more that we can cover on this topic. This is not going to be the only episode we talk about, working remotely and tips and habits that help you be a better remote worker. But today, because we are talking about tips for newbies, I have my 3 core habits for remote workers that I focus on these every single day because it's still hard every single day. The first, don't sign on the minute you wake up. This is a huge habit. I see in a lot of people. They start working from home and maybe their desk is in their bedroom, or is it in your kitchen, or maybe you don't have a desk. You just have your laptop out on the couch, and you just have a tendency to just pop up, grab a cup of coffee, and go check your email. Fight the urge. Fight it. Aggressively defend your personal time. Drink that cup of coffee while you watch the sunrise. Eat breakfast with your family. That's a big thing that we do every single morning. Our entire family, we cook breakfast together. It's very, Sound of Music. And we sit down and eat it at a table, whether you're hungry or not, because I actually usually don't eat breakfast. I just drink coffee, but I sit down at the table with my cup of coffee. No work, do not check your email, no phones, and just really keep it so that you have your personal life separate from your work, which runs into my second, which is do nothing but work in your workspace. And that's really hard for those of us that have kids and have to like work in your living room or, work in your kitchen, work on the go, but I think it's really important to find ways to separate your work and your personal when they're joined in the same space. Because if you don't do this, then it's going to feel like you're always on the clock and you're always working and you're always going, and that everything that you see is going to make it feel like you're kind of trapped in your forever work. Have you ever experienced that, or is it just me?
Yes. With working from home, I've learned that it's a double-edged sword, because like when you work from home, it's like, okay, you work from the comfort of your own home, but then you realize, oh, my home is also my work, and it never leaves. and it doesn't leave your space. And so it's like the Lord of the Rings, where it's like the ring, where it's like trying to draw you in.
Yes. Like your laptop is the ring, and it's like,
yes,
you could check your work emails. You heard that Slack ding.
Yeah.
Don't you want to check it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a double-edged sword, because like when you work from home, it's like on the one side, you can say, okay, I work from the comfort of my own home. How nice. And then on the other side, and don't get it twisted, people would absolutely kill for that position, because it's so much more convenient to work from the comfort of your own home. But the problem is that your work follows you around wherever you go. And so something that I really have to actively practice is, at the end of my workday, shut the laptop, put the podcast equipment away, put it away, and like clean off the countertop. Because I have a desk that I sometimes work at, but it's in my room. So I feel kind of cooped up in it. So a lot of the times I'll work at the kitchen table, or I will have my stuff plugged up on our countertop, I have like a big island in my kitchen. But wherever I am, whatever time that is, when that time rolls around, it is time to shut it down, turn off the notifications, and put everything away. And so it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. Like I have to actively practice that. And then the biggest, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I was say, we're on the same track, because that's my number 3, which is like leave your workspace when you would leave your office. It's just like in the morning, like you need to aggressively defend that personal time. Like put your workspace away so that it's not just easy to grab it and be like, oh, I'm just going to answer that email now. Oh, I'm going to check Slack. Like if you physically power down your laptop and put it away and you don't see it, you're going to be much more likely to not even worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Once it's over, put it up, out of sight, out of mind. But what I was going to say is, one of the biggest tips, and it sounds so, it probably sounds really basic, but really kind of like when you're working from home or working remotely, really kind of romanticize your morning routine and your personal routine that has nothing to do with checking your email and answering old Slack messages. I think it's so important to, and you hear the word romanticize. It doesn't have to be that, but like relish in it and like enjoy it and discover what that routine is for you, because I feel like that kind of kicks your day off and starts you off like it starts you on a high note, because you're able to take care of you and then jump into work, and you don't feel like you're missing out on, oh, I didn't do this morning because I didn't allow it in my routine, or I didn't have time. And granted, things pop up, and it might be easier for me to say because I do not have children, but really like relish in your pre-work morning routine. That is like the best advice I was given about working remotely.
Whoever gave you that advice is a genius.
Today's show is brought to you by Keeper, the one app to run your bookkeeping business. Keeper helps you get faster client responses with your own custom branded QuickBooks integrated client portal. Finally, you can say goodbye to those pesky spreadsheets full of uncategorized transactions. Keeper also helps you catch those embarrassing coding errors before your clients do. And with Keeper, you can generate beautiful custom reports that your clients will absolutely love to read. To find out more, go to keeper.app. That's keeper.app. Mention I Love Bookkeeping to get 20% off your first 3 months. Again, go to keeper.app to find out more. Thank you for listening.
I have to say that, are we like transitioning into a quasi self-care episode? Because I have to plug now that yes, you need to take care of yourself. And that is aggressively defending your time, especially in the morning. And as soon as you said that, Hannah, I thought about this new book that I just got, which you might resonate with this, guys. You might think I'm crazy, but I did just buy a book. It's called Witchcraft for Daily Self-Care, Nourishing Rituals and Spells. And it is because my big thing for my morning routine is my skincare routine. And I wanted something that I could read in the morning that was just about self-care. And I didn't, there were so many different things where I read for work only. I don't get to read for pleasure. So I Googled a self-care book, and that was the first one that popped up, and I bought it. And I have to say, it just makes me laugh every morning. It's like the perfect way to start my day. So I highly recommend finding that and having that, really the ritual, right? The ritual behind it. If you get up every morning and your ritual is to wash your face, go and have your cup of coffee and watch the sunrise, like that is just the perfect way to recharge yourself and just set yourself right for the day. But you need to figure out what works for you. And it is possible to do it with kids. It may seem hard, but now my kids know that every morning that I wash my face, I put on my skincare. A lot of times they're in there with me. They want to help. And sometimes I let them, for the most part, I'll show them how to do it and how they can wash their face and that type of thing. So, I think it's really important, like having a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old is, I didn't have this when I was growing up. And I had a kind of a strange family dynamic. And it's just really important to me that as I learn these really healthy habits that I didn't have when I was younger, that I'm teaching that to my children. So think about that too. So parents, sometimes it is really hard to take time for ourselves, but think about, don't you want your children to take time for themselves when they're older, and they learn by example. So you really need to take care of yourself and show that to them, that it is really important for them to take care of themselves as well.
Well, and you hear it time and time again, but it's so true. You can't pour from an empty cup.
That's so true. Something that I heard which really resonated with me, which is your body needs to rest. You can choose when to rest, or your body will choose for you. And that's usually going to be at the most inconvenient time, right? So if you don't actively take care of yourself, your body you're going to get burnt out, and you're not going to be able to choose when you rest because your body is just going to shut down. It's like maintenance on a computer, right? Like you got to do the updates, you got to reboot it and restart it. Or guess what? In the middle of that sales consultation, your computer is going to restart itself. It's going to be the same thing for you.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so, so true. So, and we're going to wrap this episode up in here in just a minute. But what I wanted to ask you is, when you first started working remotely in 2016, what was your biggest challenge?
I have actually reflected on this a lot recently, because I've been working on a few passion projects, which I haven't allowed myself to have over these past few years because I've been really focused on my company. And I really think that the key to our success has been our focus and staying consistent. And so, I've been presented with a lot of opportunities, and I have passed on them despite if I want to do them, because I know that the company that I'm working in works and it needs my full attention. So even this podcast, as an example, this is a passion project for me. This is something that I love to do. And I chose to do this for myself, and I feel guilty about it sometimes, just so you guys know. So just put that guilt on the listeners. But Thinking back to 2016 and reflecting on that time, I went from being an expert in what I did when I was working in retail management, being the best at what I did, honestly, and moving into a company, which although it was my own, was new and it was scary. And I had lost my confidence and it was unfamiliar. And I constantly felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I had imposter syndrome. I still do to this day, honestly. I had imposter syndrome and I really felt lost. Like, and is this what I want to do? What am I even doing? What does this look like? Is this the rest of my life? Is this going to work? Is this going to be successful? We don't have enough money to pay our bills. Are we going to get to the point where we have enough money to pay our bills? All those types of things and panics and stresses. That it was such a hard transition for me, going out of having security to being on my own. And I have to really say that Dan, I hate this. Oh my God, this is so corny. But I have to say, like, Daniel was my rock in the sense that he just seemed so sure that this would work. And he was so confident and he knew that it would succeed. And it was just like, okay, if he thinks we can do this, then we can do this. Funny enough, like several years later, he told me that he was also internally panicking the entire time.
Good to know.
Good to know. So I want you to know that all of the people out there that look like they're got their shit together, they're also panicking. They're just probably doing a better job about internalizing it. It was hard. And I'm really happy that I had that experience because now I know how to help other people through it, which I didn't have in 2016. What about you, Hannah? What was like the hardest part for you?
I think I've talked about this before, but I transitioned from working on my feet for like 12 hours a day to being on a computer and sitting down and kind of figuring out my new schedule. I had a lot of guilt. I had a lot of guilt that I wasn't doing enough. And that guilt kind of like, it did suffocate me for a little bit because I felt like I was always having to overcompensate with everything I did. And that was exhausting. Once there were days when I first started off with bookkeepers.com back in 2017, there were days where I remember like all the work that I needed to get done today was done. And it was earlier in the day. And at my previous job, all I craved was like being able to do this and having freedom to, if I want to go for a run on my lunch break, then I can go for a run. Or if I have a doctor's appointment, I can not feel guilty about that. I had so much guilt and I really had to, it kind of melted away in time, but I also had to really kind of look at my situation and look at the fact that I was doing something huge for myself, that I made a big decision it was uncomfortable growth is what I was feeling. At the time, I didn't realize that's what I'm feeling because it felt like I wasn't doing enough. But really, I was growing to be more aware of my time management. I was growing to be more aware of the best times a day for me to work. And I was learning a new job. And I was really hard on myself about the fact that I was not on my feet, killing myself 12 hours a day. And it gave me this weird sense of guilt. And so one of the things that I did to really grow out of it was first of all, as corny as it sounds, practice gratitude, because I had to kind of take a step back and realize, like, this is what I wanted. This is something that I've been begging for and praying for a long time. And I finally got it. And I'm here and I don't know what I'm doing because I've never been in this predicament before. When you look at it from that angle and you can say, okay, I've never been in this situation. This is completely uncharted territory. Whether you are starting a new job or you're going from working in an office to working from home, you're in a new uncharted territory. And you really kind of have to I almost recommend talking to a mentor who doesn't have any skin in the game, because they're going to shoot straight with you and tell you where you're going wrong and what you could be doing better at, but kind of adapting like a bird's eye view to what I was doing really helped me to drop that guilt that I have, because I felt like I wasn't doing enough. And I was like, well, should I pick up this hobby, or like, should I get like a side job or something like that? Because it's not that it was doing a lot less. I was just working normal hours. And that is something that I had not been accustomed to for a very long time. So, for anybody who's listening, if you work a job where you're on your feet, or it's labor, or you're talking to people all day, scaling back to a normal like 9 to 5 and figuring out your routine and stuff, that it can be really daunting because you feel like you're not doing anything. But getting over that, I mean, that was kind of my long-winded answer, but getting over the feeling of not doing anything, and really learning how to manage my time well, and not beat myself up. I feel like once I stopped beating myself up, my production went through the roof because I wasn't spending so much time worrying. So
yes, it's that anxiety. No, I love your answer so much. I wrote down several notes. Like, we need to have an entire episode just on guilt. And I know listening to you, and I know that you don't have kids, but listening to you, that is exactly how I felt, that I wasn't doing enough for my kids, right? Or I wasn't doing enough for the company, or I'm never doing enough. And I think guilt is universal. And I think we need to circle back around and just have an entire episode just on guilt. And I think also forgiveness. And I'm going to be doing a seminar on how to forgive yourself. And I really want to share that too, because I think that has a lot to do with that guilt. And it's so universal to everyone's experiences. So thank you so much for sharing.
Of course. Yeah. We want to hear from you guys, as always. At the end of our episodes, we always love hearing feedback. We love hearing stories, tips, tricks, anything that we can share or grow or learn from. So if you have some habits or tips for remote workers, especially those of you who are new remote workers, please send us an email at success@ilovebookkeeping.com. Again, that is success@ilovebookkeeping.com. I'm Hannah Robinson.
And I'm Melissa Honan.
Thank you for listening to the I Love Bookkeeping podcast.
I love bookkeeping. Here's a little shout to all my friends working hard at keeping the books. You want to change your life, you want to grow that biz, it's not as hard as it looks. Be a money guide, a profit coach, step up your game